Let's begin with a prayer. Vagarthaviv sambritto Vagartha pradipattaye Jagatapidaro vande Parvati Parameshwaro. Vagarthaviv sambritto Vagartha pradipattaye Jagatapidaro vande Parvati Parameshwaro. We salute the parents of the universe, Shiva, Parameshwara, and Shakti or Parvati. They are ever united, like words and their meaning. Like fire and heat. Like a snake and its slithering. Water and waves. We salute Shiva and Shakti, the parents of the universe, so that we are blessed with clarity of thinking, to understand the right import of words, so that I don't misunderstand. There is no problem of communication. From the Guru, from the teacher, the Vakta, the speaker, and the Shroda, the listener. Vagarthaviv sambritto Vagartha pradipattaye Jagatapidaro vande Parvati Parameshwaro. Okay. So I hope you spend 1 week reflecting on these universal values and also assessing your own performance in measuring up to those values. Every day morning you will commit yourself, and the evening you will review your performance so that you can internalize those values. And whatever those values, the main value was ahimsa. Ahimsa means inclusion and mutual respect. It's called non-violence. I don't violate your individuality so that you don't violate my individuality. I don't violate nature so that nature don't violate me. So it's an environment of mutual nourishing and flourishing. This is very important. So those values were non-violence, and which requires tremendous self-control, self-awareness. That's why Indriya Nigraha, which is very important. So to achara, you must practice it every moment of your life, so that it goes into your fibers, moral fiber, become your moral fiber. It's a commitment. And the more you commit, the more you practice, the more you enjoy it. And then the achara is very important. You have to practice it, not just simply academic discussions. It is something to be practiced. Discussions are necessary. Indriya Nigraha, achara, and danam, charity. Be charitable. Compassion, daya, etc. So these were the immortal global values which everybody accepts. We don't need much discussion about that. We intuitively appreciate those values. Whether you measure up to that is a different question. But we intuitively appreciate. We feel a thrill when we listen to these values. And we want to live those values. And how much mark you will give to yourself? On a scale of 1 to 10. 5, 6, 4, 3, 0, 10. You have to assess yourself. And this is not for others to assess you. That sometimes people do. Sociologists and then economists and then moralists, they try to assess you. My intention is not that. You have to make your own assessment. How much you are progressing. And so that we can create an experience of flourish. Yogatshema or Abhyudaya Nishreyas. These are the words used. Abhyudaya Nishreyas. Abhyudaya means material flourish, Nishreyas means spiritual. Not only GDP, but gross national well-being. That is what you call Nishreyas. Or Yogatshema. Yoga means spiritual wellness. Shema means material wellness. Material wellness means health and peace of mind and all that. Or you can say Loka Sangraha. You contribute to the common good. Loka Sangraha. These are the words used. These words are very important. That influence your thinking, your intentions, your feelings, your thoughts, your actions are all influenced by the words that we hear. The words are, because your brain is made up of words. It's all inscripted there. So you have to listen to these words and remember it all the time so that they moderate your behavior in the world. So it is for you for self-assessment. It's not to convince anyone in the world. Assess yourself, how much you are practicing, how much you have integrated these values. So these are called values. Values means an ideal you live for. Today I am going to talk about another aspect of this Swadharma. So we start with asking this question, what should I do? Isn't it? An animal doesn't ask this question because they act impulsively. They don't, I have never seen two buffaloes sitting together discussing what should we do. That's not there. And this is not the predicament of an animal. It's a predicament of human beings. It's our predicament, our problem. Nothing else in the world has this problem. They are all controlled by maybe Ishvara or the universal laws, biological laws, whatever you may call it. I will call it controlled by Ishvara. But here we have this freedom to choose our action. It's a privilege and it's a problem. It's a privilege so that we can take ownership. We participate we are a Brahman project, I told you. We participate in God's project, in the Brahman project. We are co-travelers. We can dance with the Brahman. So we have to take this responsibility of this freedom is to be used with responsibility. So next is, so there is one thing. When we ask this question, what should I do? The one factor is these 4 or 5 universal values. Are we living up to that? That becomes your dharma. Another question, which is another factor in determining your Swadharma. Swadharma means an answer to the question, what should I do? Another factor is your prakriti. So this is a very complex topic. Complex, controversial topic. So I will give you the sense of that because I don't want to go to controversies. That's not my job. My job is not to confuse you, but give you some clarity as much as I can. So my prakriti. What is this prakriti? There are 3 words are used. One is prakriti, the other is swabhava. Swabhava means my character, the timber out of which I am created. So when I say I, each one of you use that word I all the time, isn't it? I got up in the morning, I had a bath and brushed my teeth, or had a cup of coffee and then took a bath and dressed up and went to the office. No, that you cannot escape from that word I, whether you use it or not, whether you use a direct sentence or indirect sentence. You cannot escape from that word. So this I, from the Vedantic standpoint or the spiritual dharmic standpoint, there are two dimensions for this I. One is the transcendental dimension. We have already discussed the 10, 12 Upanishads, we were discussing that. What is the transcendental aspect of your I? What is that Satchidanandam? Aham Brahmasmi. I am okay. That is the transcendental aspect. I am Shiva. You can say that also. So that is a transcendental aspect, and the other is the empirical aspect. The empirical I. The empirical I, the Karta Bhokta. That is the empirical I. It is with that I you are acting in this world. All your actions. You choose and you engage, and then the consequences continue. That is why Karta, the doer, Bhokta, the enjoyer. In modern language, you can say producer and consumer. You produce something and you consume. You work, you get your labor or your fee, and then you use that to live, isn't it? So in the modern language, you are a producer or consumer. And in ancient word, the Sanskrit word is Karta Bhokta. So that's our, and that's, I can also say biologically, Karta Bhokta means body, mind, ego, complex. It is through the body, mind, ego complex you interact with the world and harvest your experience. And from that body, mind, ego standpoint, Karta, Bhokta, producer, consumer standpoint, you are a unique person. You cannot be replicated. You are unique. Though you look like your father as you become older and older, or your mother when you become older and older, you are a unique person. Nobody can replicate. God is incredibly creative as far as this aspect is concerned. Nobody can replicate it. There's always a. So even if you are twins, these twins they apparently look the same, but they have differences. So let us accept that I am a unique person. But that does not make you a special person, please. I am special and don't talk to me. No. You're not a special. You are a unique person. Everybody is unique. Everybody is special. So as a unique person, you act. You make your choice. So therefore, you are conditioned by your uniqueness, your nature. You cannot be everybody. You cannot do everything. You cannot be everywhere. Though you like to be, isn't it? You want to be everywhere. You want to do everything. You want to be everyone. It is not possible. You can only act according to your prakriti or your svabhava, your kind. That's your individuality, your personality. So you are a personality. What is personality? I will explain it later. Person plus persona is personality. That's your personality. A masked individual. You have several masks. What are those masks we have? One mask you wear because of the corona. I'm not talking about that mask. What are the masks? We have seen 5 layers of masks are there. We have seen in that Taittiriya Upanishad. I hope you remember that. Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Jnanamaya, Anandamaya, all those masks. Or you can reduce it to body, mind, ego mask. Body is your mask. You are speaking through the body. Mind is a mask. Sense organs is a mask. You are speaking through that. Ego is a mask. Ego means your special, unique identity. In Vedanta, we don't say remove your ego or you should not have any ego. We don't say that. We say you must have an ego, but you must respect others' ego also. That's it. You must respect others' ego. Then you are a humble person. That's how we define humility. Humility is not rubbing your nose on the ground. Humility is saying that I have an ego, I have an identity. Also, I recognize others' ego, they have an identity. So let us manage our egos like in a symphony or like in a garden, many flowers. They have their own identity. So this my Prakriti. Why do you call it Prakriti? Prakriti because it's a construct. It's a construct made up of constituent factors. They are called the gunas, three gunas. Your Prakriti is made up of three gunas, which I will explain later. That's why it's called a Prakriti. Kriti Yogitva. Prakarshena Kriti Yogitva. It is a constant. Then it is also called a Varna. Varna means a color. Color. You have certain colors. Your mind has got a certain color. Your ego has got a certain color. What are those colors? Those colors are yellow, red, and blue. These are the fundamental basic colors. So your mind is a combination of these three colors. A range of colors. It's a kind of rainbow. It's not just one color. Some people are predominantly red. Some people are predominantly yellow. Some people are predominantly blue. Some people are a combination of all this. So accordingly, we have divided personality into 7 types, which we will be becoming. 7 types of personality. But basically, it is 3 categories. What are 3 categories? Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. We will explain that. All these words are to be explained. But let us be familiar with these words. Some of you are already familiar with these words. So, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Prakriti means a combination, a construct woven out of, or a mix woven out of these 3 fundamental principles. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. It is called as Swabhava. Your Swabhava means that's your character now. This particular combination of gunas has become your character. That is what we express in this world. Character means it's an unbroken thread of memory. That is character. Unbroken thread of memory. That you remember what you did and said yesterday. You are responsible for what you are doing and saying today. And you are also conscious of what you will be doing tomorrow. So this is an unbroken thread of memory which creates character for you. Some people forget what they said yesterday and today and tomorrow, that they are little confused people. So character. So Swabhava. So you act according to your character or Swabhava in this world. Another word is Varna. Varna is, as I told you, it's a combination of gunas. That is why in the Kirlian photography, they can see your Varna, your color itself. I don't know whether it is true or not, but it's an interesting thought. I can see your color. Are you yellow, red, blue, or a combination of all this? And accordingly, I can recruit you to different posts and positions. And in marriage also, you can see what is your color, and all those things are possible. So, you can use this word Prakriti, Varna, or Swabhava. And that is what determines your nature. How you make your choices, how you behave in this world, how do you organize your relationships, are all determined by your Prakriti. So it's very important we must become conscious about Prakriti through meditation, through contemplation, through an honest evaluation of oneself. What is my Prakriti? Who am I? In the transactional or the interactive world. So it's something like you have a car. You should know what kind of car you are operating, isn't it? Or a computer. If you don't know, then get a manual for that. So here it is about yourself. So you have to reflect. What is my Prakriti. In Ayurveda also they talk about that. What is your Prakriti? So they have a different terminology there. Vada, Pitta, Kapha and all that. Almost similar to Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. And they are balancing. So you become a balanced individual or Karta, Bhokta. So this Prakriti, one must understand. What is this Prakriti? And this Prakriti of yours is not determined by the accident of your birth, which family you are born. It is not the family which determines your Prakriti, nor your jadi or your caste or your religion, which determines your Prakriti. So what determines your Prakriti? In modern language I can say it is your genes. But your genes are not coming from your parents. Parents are only a vehicle through which your genetic composition manifests or come out. It's not your parents. If you say my parents gave me my genes, then your parents and their parents, it can go back to the first couple who came from Ethiopia, maybe 1 million years ago. You can also go backwards. So the entire evolutionary history is imprinted in your genes. There is a fish in you, there is a lion in you, there is a crocodile in you. These are all imprinted in your genes. Even if you go for a genetic test, you can find that there is a little bit of Greek in you, a little bit of Chinese in you, a little bit of Roman in you, a little bit of Aryans in you. All those things are. So when we say your genes, let us not think that you are exactly a replica of your parents. No. Because the genetic combinations have got a lot of variations there. You can go up to the Big Bang in that way. All these are there, they are imprints in your personality. When these manifest, we don't know. So that is one thing. It is not Kula, family, or Jadi, the particular religion or caste, which determine your the Prakriti. You have got a long, deep history, which is very difficult to assess. You can go back and back and back. If you go back and back, ultimately you end up in Brahman, isn't it? You ultimately end up in Brahman. Everything dissolves. So that's not what we are doing now. If you go back and back, the table will become an ensemble of dancing atoms. But as far as experience is concerned, if I want to eat my lunch and breakfast, I need this table. I don't look at it as a dancing ensemble of atoms. That is what you call the transactional or the empirical world. We must have that discrimination, that wisdom, to understand what are the different manifestations. And accordingly, we have to establish relationships. So let's not misunderstand that, in the Hindu tradition, there is a misunderstanding that our Prakriti is determined by where we are born, in which family you are born. That your doctor's son should be a doctor, isn't it? An engineer's son should be an engineer. That doesn't happen. Though we force them and make their life miserable. So therefore, let us understand the true meaning of this Prakriti or Swabhava or Varna. Is not the Kula family. Then what is it? Let us call it the genes. And the genes have got a long history. It's a great history. And you have got a special combination of genes. That's why we say you are a unique person. And you alone can understand that. No psychologist, nobody can understand. You may go and consult a psychologist. They will analyze they will ask you a few questions and say they will put you on the Procrustean bed, as I told you. They have certain vocabulary, so they want to fix you in that. So don't go for that. We have to assess ourselves. There are various ideas about your individuality. If you ask an economist, they will say you are a consumer, isn't it? That is all what they see. You're a good consumer. Isn't it? Good consumer has come. That's all what they think. So if you ask a politician, he's a voter, he's my voter, he will vote against me, so shun him. If you ask a Marxist, oh, you are a product of productive relationships. You are either a oppressed labor class, alienated labor, you work and work is taken out by the capitalist and you're exploited and then therefore fight and take this sword and fight and all that. Their idea is different. They all are putting you in boxes. That is not what you are. You alone can do. If you ask a Freudian, oh, you are suppressed sexuality. Therefore, you are expressing in a perverted way. If you ask a religious person, you are a sinner, isn't it? Especially Western idea of you are a sinner. And then your whole of your life you are trying to shed your sin. And the more you try, the more you become a sinner. See, look at how different people look at you. And they are ready to give you a brand and a tag so that they can exploit you. Don't buy into those kind of ideas. Again, so you can ask a modernism and enlightenment, modernism, scientists, they'll tell you are a rational choice maker, rational being. A postmodernist, you are a mortal, therefore you are suffering, you have that angst and that ennui and all that. So this way, you can ask many people and they have their own ideas about you, but the truth is you alone know who you are. But we never make any attempt. So here in the Dharma literature, what we say is that you are a combination of these three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. And that being a combination of these three gunas, they determine your personality, your character, how you behave in this world. This I have to understand. You have to take some trouble to do that. And if you don't understand your prakriti and train yourself accordingly and act accordingly, what happens is you become a mad person, you become crazy. Because you're going against the stream. Madness happens. You become sick. You become a criminal. If you analyze the criminals or mad people or sick people, it is all because they are going against their prakriti, against their sambhava, against their varna, against their karma. So that is the root of the madness or sickness. That's why we have a lot of mad houses, a lot of prisons and criminals, put them in prison. Madness, put them in madhouse. Sick, put them in the hospital. Isn't it? So this is the consequence. If you go against the prakriti, this will be the consequences. So become mad or no growth or no fulfillment for it. You don't feel fulfilled. You go around like a headless chicken. You don't know what to do. Because you don't feel comfortable with yourself. A certain foreign body has gone into the system. Isn't it? A thorn goes into the system, you cannot sit quiet. Or a piece of stone in your shoe, you cannot sit quiet. So something has gone into your system and you feel restless all the time. And why you go against the system, against your nature? The scripture says, the Dharma Shastra says, you go against your nature because of arrogance. Arrogance. This is called ahankara. Or moha, delusion. Or greed. You want to be like the other person. We all want to emulate others. We want to be like the other person and forget your real nature. So therefore, these are the main three reasons. Ahankara, arrogance, greed, or delusion, comparison. I compare myself. So in determining your Swadharma, what should I do? In answer to that question, you have to look into yourself and see your Prakriti. Of course, you can discuss with your Guru, consult with your friends, because expressions of your Prakriti, they understand how you express. So there can be distortion in the Prakriti. At the same time, Prakriti is not a fixed entity. You have Vikritis. Vikritis means various modifications. According to the climate, the weather, the season, the place and all that, it can undergo Vikritis. So therefore, this Prakriti is not a fixed entity because it falls in the field of flux and change. Because part of Maya. So don't feel, my God, I am fixated, I am hemmed into a particular Prakriti now, I have no freedom. Of course, a tree can say that. You don't have to say that. A coconut tree cannot change itself. It has been a coconut tree since time immemorial. A lion cannot become a vegetarian. A cow cannot become a non-vegetarian. These are all fixed entities, but you are not like that. Your Prakriti has got a large room of maneuvering. So it has got Vikritis. Vikriti means it can be modified. And it can be samskriti also. It can be edified also. Edification means it can be educated. Your Prakriti. You cannot educate a lion much. Of course, you can train a little bit. But when it gets an opportunity, it will pounce on you. So you can change your character to a certain extent, not beyond the limit. And another thing is, your Prakriti is very, very important. Your Prakriti has got a mission, a place in this world. Isn't it? It's like a drama, a play. Everybody has got a role there. So similarly, you are never unwanted. You are never redundant. Some people say, my God, my Prakriti is like that. What can I do in this world? No. You have a place in this world. So therefore, don't feel that, my Prakriti is very bad, so I have no place in this world. No. You have a place in this world. Without you, the world is barren and impoverished. Please understand that. You all have a particular role in this world. It's like a brick on the wall. You remove that brick, the wall collapses. So because it's a generalization, averaging exercise, people don't experience their uniqueness. They want to become an average person. That is what I said, putting people in the Procrustean bed, chop their head and leg and all that and fix them into. Unfortunately, that is the meaning of education these days. Really, the meaning of education is educator. Give an opportunity so that the person can discover his own Prakriti. Unfold his Prakriti. Unfold his or her uniqueness. But that's not, unfortunately, what education is, because maybe the limited scarce resources and the structure of the society may not be able to accommodate all these unique expressions. But I hope a time will come. The society will be so organized so it can accommodate all unique expression. I would call it progress. Progress is a social organization structuring the society so that you don't have to trim and cut individuals to fit into a pre-programmed situation so that it become an open architecture where everybody can have their own voice and expression, and when there will be no lunatic asylums or prisons or police or military and war and all that. Everybody can express themselves. That I would call a progressive society. And I'm sure a time will come with where we all can be ourselves. We don't have to pretend. We all can live our own unique prakriti. And if you want, you can do it right now. Not that you don't have to wait for such a situation. If you all dare to do that, then the society will open up. We can do it right now. Nobody can stop you. They may put you in the prison. That is okay. There you can teach a Bhagavad Gita or something. Isn't it? Wherever you go, you can teach Bhagavad Gita. Or somebody said, if you do this, you will go to hell. Okay, I will go there and teach Bhagavad Gita and make everybody, hey, I will convert hell into heaven. Why not? So you have a place. So therefore, so I told you, if you go against our prakriti, these are the problems. So let us understand our prakriti and act accordingly, according to our prakriti. Now, so I will also say that prakriti is a deck of cards given to you. What is prakriti? Body, mind, ego, complex. A combination of three gunas. That's a deck of cards given to you. How you play with it is your choice and your freedom. But your freedom is limited by the cards given to you. Please understand. The freedom of a bird to fly is limited by the wingspan of the bird and the tail of the bird and the wind, the flow of the wind. All these are determined the bird's freedom to fly. Similarly, our freedom is determined by the necessity. There is certain necessity. You have to use that. Constraints and conditions. So, having understood this, I have a given unique prakriti. Now, let us go into the understanding of this prakriti. So, please understand this prakriti is a vehicle you are using, instrument. You are that Satchidananda Brahmanatma, isn't it? So, I am using this prakriti to express myself, my happiness, in my own way. That should be very clear understood. Otherwise, you will reduce yourself into the prakriti. Reducing yourself into the prakriti is not what is meant here. Using the prakriti, as somebody said, give me a liver and a place to stand, then I can lift the whole world. So your liver is this body, mind, ego complex. And stand apart. Use this. Watch it. How it is modifying. What are its possibilities, potentialities? So, this unique individual. Now, let me go a little bit into the personality. Personality is made up of two words. Person, Purusha, and persona. Meaning the Purusha, the person speaking through, acting through, playing through. The persona, the mask. Persona means a mask. Is called the personality. So, Purusha and Prakriti. The technical word here in Dharma Shastra is Purusha and Prakriti. Prakriti is a persona that you have. And you are expressing through that. So, okay, so this we have understood. And what are these three? So, Prakriti also we should understand as Prakriti is Maya. Our personality, body, mind, ego complex is part of the Maya. Maya means which is Mithya. Mithya means you cannot define it as either true or false. Because when you go into the Mithya disappears and you go to Brahman, isn't it? You don't do that. When you come to the green room, then you remove all your masks. I told you that story. Once I saw a beautiful play where this guy is playing the role of Shiva. And you crescent moon and the matted hair and the trishul and tiger skin and the ashes across his forehead. It looked so divine to me. At the end of the play, I wanted to meet this guy. He looked like God to me. I went to the green room behind the stage, and there after the play removed all the mask, he's lying down having a bidi, a cigarette. My God, all my respect disappeared, isn't it? So similarly, if you go beyond the mask, you become Brahman. Your respect increases there, of course. Here my respect disappears. There your respect increases. Then you cannot play the role. So I have to wear the mask to play the role. In infinite ways. So Brahman wants to express itself in infinite ways. And the body, mind, ego complex is the various vehicles. So please give a thought to that. You have to really think and reflect. Then alone you undergo the transformation, the freedom, the joy in life. It should not be just an intellectual exercise. That's why I'm repeating this idea. It shouldn't be an intellectual exercise. This should cause a transformation. And you don't have to wait some social change. As Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see in the world outside. You can make a difference by understanding. So when you ask this question, what should I do? You have to also understand this. What is your place in the sun? What is your unique mission, vocation in life? That I have to understand. And you must have respect for that. You must have respect. Don't wait for others to respect you. You must have respect for your identity. So your identity also is not defined by your gender, please. The feminists say you are male, female, and we are fight against male. That's not, gender is not your total identity. And then again conflict comes in the world. Now these days we are talking fluid gender, isn't it? Are you heterosexual or homosexual or bisexual or what are you? Let me think. My society calls me man or woman, but within me I have a rainbow genders. There's nothing wrong with that. That is what you are. But slowly the culture and language trains you to forget one aspect and manifest another aspect, and as a result you feel sick again. That also can make you sick. Then you are not able to express your true gender, which is very fluid and flexible. So these are the things we have, at least within yourself, you must resolve these issues. If you don't resolve these issues within yourself, you again fall sick or go mad. Or people will call you, he is depressive, he is bipolar, he is this, that, all kind of tags will fall on you. You lose freedom to define who you are. And the society is a loser as a result of that. So, this Prakriti is part of Maya. It's a constant flux. It is very difficult to, before you catch it, before you define it, it has changed. So you should be very nimble-footed to understand this constantly changing nature. You yourself change, isn't it? Morning you are somebody, evening you are somebody else. With your wife you are very angry. With your customer, such a sweet person, isn't it? You keep on changing. Your children, you are a monster. But you are both, you are a... Isn't it? So you keep on changing. You have the capacity. It changes. So it is a field of flow and flux and change and contradictions. And to flow with is little difficult. But with this detachment, this understanding, you will be able to manage it. Manage to act according to your Prakriti. So what is this Prakriti? Let us see, what are this Prakriti? The Prakriti is, as we have seen, the Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So human beings can be categorized into three types. Three types. Sattvic type, Rajasic type, Tamasic type. That's a broad division of human being. Sattvic, Rajasic and Tamasic. So what is the property? We know this sattva. Sattva, we don't know whether it's a substance or a quality. We know the sattva by its expression. Like, atoms. We don't know, you have not seen atom, but its expression. Or electron. You have not seen electron, but its expression you have seen. It's only a lakshana. Through lakshanaya, I can find out whether you are a sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic person. There is no microscope to know this. Lakshana is manifestation. So what will be the lakshana, the manifested expression of a sattvic character? The lakshana is reflectivity. They reflect. Light, reflection. They don't jump into things. They reflect. They pause. Reflective. And what is the lakshana of a rajasic person? When we say rajasic, sattva, rajas, tamas, predominantly sattvic, because these three gunas are universal properties, energies. So we all are a combination of sattva, rajas and tamas, our prakriti, in various proportions. Very complicated subject, isn't it? So a sattvic person is not exclusively sattvic, exclusively reflective. Most of the time he is reflective, or she is reflective. Sattva, the property, expressed property, quality is reflectivity, reflection, light. And their reflectivity, and then reason. They reason out things. Reason, reflectivity and reason. Where is the right? So you have to analyze yourself. You are looking at yourself. You are not saying, oh, my wife is like this. That's not objective here. It is for you to reflect, because this is a reflective exercise, transformative and reflective exercise. So sattvic person, a reflectivity, and then rajasic person, action. He is always on the move. On the move, always active. Now he is here, now she is there. Active. And the tamasic person, passivity. Sit down on a chair, then continue to sit there. Very difficult to move that person from there. Even if you remove the chair, he will be stuck like that. So passivity, activity, and reflectivity. And because of reflectivity, they are more rational, the sattvic people. And rajasic people, passionate. They passionately go. A lot of energy for them. Lot of energy. Hyperactive, not that hyperactive, but they are very passionate about things. They argue, they shout, they scream, they cry. Isn't it? That's the quality of the rajasic person. Some of you are like that. Please look into yourself. I'm holding a mirror. Action, passion, and for tamasic person, caution. They're always saying, wait a minute, not now, tomorrow, postponing, not now. That's a tamasic quality. Procrastination, tomorrow, caution. They don't jump into the fray that easily. And then again, sattvic person, they pursue knowledge. They are interested in knowledge. Knowledge gives them satisfaction. If they read 10 books a day, they feel I have eaten very well. They are very satisfied. 10 books. At least they must read the introduction of 10 books. They pursue knowledge, research, teaching, and all that. Isn't it? So some of you are like that. You don't need much food. You can sit in a corner. I call it my philosopher's corner. I sit there and I can spend the whole day reading books. But all of you are not like that. Some of you want to get out and do this, do that. So I enjoy my pandemic freedom, sitting in a corner and reading and all that. Some people, they're restless. They want to go out to hell with the corona. I don't mind, and you go out. So those people are very active. So knowledge. Some people seek knowledge. And what about the sattvic people, rajasic people? They seek power. They want to control things. Some people are like that. In your relationship, you have said, you have got a controlling husband, isn't it? I have got a controlling wife. Some people are like that. They need power, otherwise they feel insecure. They are not playing according to their prakriti. So you have to confront them. Okay, your prakriti is like that, I appreciate you, but don't play it on me. So you have to speak. I will come to that in the next talk. How to deal with these situations. First of all, let us understand our prakriti. In the next talk, Raja Dharma, I will be talking how do you manage with this prakriti. How do you drive in a busy highway with this prakriti, with this car? How do you do that? There are several rules to manage this prakriti. But first of all, let us understand your car, your prakriti. So, Rajasic people seek power and Tamasic people seek pleasure, security. Therefore, they are more involved in productive activities. Agriculture, commerce and trade and skills and various productive activities. The Rajasic people may not be that involved in production, producing something concrete. They are involved in wielding power. And they are experts in that. You and I may not be able to wield power. They can create power, they can amass power, they can use power very efficiently. You and I may not be able to do that. Because that's our prakriti. That's our prakriti. Even if you give that power, you will not be able to use that. Some people know exactly how to use power. They carry a stick all the time. If you and I use the stick, somebody will snatch it and beat you. Isn't it? So don't carry the stick because you don't know how to use it. You don't know how to wield it. Only those people know that. We should accept that. But you can reason out very well. If somebody brings a stick, you can argue with them, reason with them. If you beat me, I can snatch it and beat you, and then both of us will become, beaten up, and then therefore let us have an agreement that you will not beat me, I will not beat you, carry the stick. That's okay. See, that will come later. So, the Rajasic people use power, Tamasic people security, money. They want money. They don't need power, they don't need knowledge. So what type are you is the question, the broad type. What type are you among these? It is for you to discuss. Again, the Dharma Shastra says what you eat also depends upon the way you eat. I can identify whether you are Rajasic, Sattvic or Tamasic. People who are Sattvic, they like milk and ghee and vegetables and all that. Sattvic. Rajasic, kaddum mulalavanatishna, very hot and spicy and salty. Namkeen nahi hai, namkeen chahiye. Namkeen means salty food. Otherwise, you don't feel comfortable. You don't feel happy. Tamasic people, overcooked, stale, frigid, taken straight from the fridge and then eat it, or may eat it a little bit. So most of us are Tamasic people that way. Because of compulsion, isn't it? Because we don't have the time to cook fresh food. Lazy people. So, and in the process you are distorting your personality. And hence, so the food, how you eat food. What kind of food you eat? Sukham, your concept of happiness, pleasure. Some people seek pleasure in reflection. Some people seek pleasure in action and control. Some people think, I have a lot of wealth and power, I will be happy. Some people know this power and wealth is a burden. I would rather distribute and share and be free. Some people think happiness means, doing the same thing again and again and again and again. They don't want to move away from their comfort zone. That is tamasic people. So your happiness changes depending. And the way you do dana, even giving a donation. The sattvic people, quietly you do a donation. No, don't take my name. Rajasic people, oh my God, they need a lot of cameras and take pictures and broadcast it everywhere. Tamasic people, dana, charity, they also do charity. But it's a different attitude. Just scold them here. Do stop it. Living on my charity. But again, isn't it? So therefore, there are the charity also can be defined according to the guna composition. And then, yajna, teamwork. How you engage in a teamwork? Sattvic people try to explain, create a vision, inspire people. Rajasic people control, take a stick and say, if you don't do this, I'll punish you. Tamasic people, they give you a bottle of whiskey and please do it for me. Isn't it? So there are different ways of motivating people, depending upon your guna. So please understand which guna is predominant in you. Not that you will be exclusively with that guna. So in Dharma Shastra, we say a sattvic person is predominantly sattvic, 60% in his personality. Followed by rajas, maybe 30%. Followed by tamas, maybe 10%. So accordingly, we have divided people into 7 categories, 7 types, let us say. 3 categories and 7 types. Little more specific. What are the 7 types? I'll give you the types and you have to go and do some research. First type is S, Sattva, R, Rajas, and T, Tamas. S, R, T type. Meaning 60% Sattva, 30% Rajas, 10% Tamas. SRT type. You can go and analyze. Second type is RST type. RST type. What is RST? 60% Rajas, 30% Sattva, followed by Sattva. 40% Sattva, and then followed by Tamas, 10% Tamas. RST type. I am avoiding all the old vocabulary because that may create a lot of problems. Old vocabulary I am not using because this is dharma in fact for modern times, isn't it? And I want to make it universally applicable. Therefore, I am not using all the terms which are called cultural and linguistic, loaded with cultural implications, which I don't want to use. So that it can be applicable universally. So, SRT type, then RST type, then RTS type. 60% Rajas, followed by 30% Tamas, followed by 10% Sattva. Then TRS type, meaning 60% Tamas, 30% Rajas, and 10% Sattva. Right? These are the general types we see. There are other types also. What are the other type? One is TSR type. Such people are little imbalanced. TSR type, please. TSR type. In TSR type, generally they are tamasic, but sometimes they can be extremely sattvic. Generally they do wrong things, but sometimes they have extraordinarily good things. So you cannot ignore them. Sometimes they are very, very useful. They are TSR type. And there are STR type. Meaning generally they are good, but sometimes they can mess up with the whole thing. Generally they are good, but sometimes they can mess up. And then the whole thing, at the 11th hour, the whole thing is destroyed. They are also useful people because sometimes they alone can accomplish certain things. Have you seen such people? They are very good with you and all that, and one day they explode and say, what happened to you? What is wrong with you? Don't we ask that? What is wrong with you? I never thought you will do this. But some other people, they're generally bad, so you have an assessment of that people. But then they are so good. How did he become like this? Or she became? So these are the 6 types of personalities, which you have to be very careful. What type you belong, because it's a little more specification. Generally, it's 3 categories. And from there, these 6 types. And one more type is called Gunadita. Gunadita means they have certain mastery over this. Because they have realized their nature as Brahman. Therefore, they have got a certain mastery. They are called Gunadita people. They can play with their gunas. They can be very active when they need, very reflective when it's required, and very cautious when it is necessary. They can command these gunas. They can play with it. That's a rare achievement, if you can. Like Rama, when it was necessary to be angry, he is going to be angry. Then he becomes quiet. He doesn't get stuck up with one emotion or one mood. That's our ambition. Prakashancha pravrittincha mohamevacha pandava. Na nivrittis, na dveshi sampravrittani, na nivrittani na kankshani. Bhagavad Gita. When these guna play about in you, you don't get stuck. You are able to play with these gunas, which is the achievement, which is a great capability. Okay, so now we are a combination of these 3 gunas we have seen. There is one more factor in determining your prakriti, that is your age. Because our life is divided into 4 stages. The first 28 years, 1 to 28 years, is called you are a young person. After 28. After 28, you see grey hair, beard, tooth is missing, and wrinkles start, isn't it? So, first, after 28, you are a young person. 28 to 58, 30 years, you are a middle-aged person. You're gonna change. Little more sattva comes to you. Isn't it? Middle-aged person. Up to 58. 58 to 75, you are an old person. Though you don't agree with that. No, I'm not. Okay, I agree. It's a psychological, there is a little bit of psychology also in that. You don't have to feel old, but you're chronologically old. 58 to 75. 75 to 116, you are a very old person. However you try to cover, it all shows through, your skin and your teeth and your hair and all that. After 16, after 116, then you retire or you quit. Meaning you become upashanta tejaha. You become pure fire without fuel. Meaning you are dead. Or as good as dead. After 116, you are as good as dead. So this also changes your prakriti. Isn't it? When you are young, you are very rash. When you are middle-aged, you are a little more responsible. You are a family man now. Children, wife, in-laws, outlaws, all are there. And when you are old, you are very much experienced. Your words are very cautious. You have command over your words. And when you are very old, you cannot do anything anyway. Isn't it? So your nature changes. So your prakriti or varna or swabhava is determined by your guna combination plus your age. Please understand that. Plus your age. That is what you are at a given point of time. This prakriti one should analyze, understand before you choose an action. Is it in agreement with my prakriti? Am I acting according to my prakriti? Or am I overreach? If you overreach, there is danger. As I told you, become sick or mad or whatever, criminal. So one should understand this. So when you express this Prakriti, you are expressing it in a context, in an environment. We call it the Raja. Raja means an organization. You are an organ, part of an organization. What are the organizations? One is family. Second is your community. Third is your country or your culture. Fourth is environment. Language. These are your environment. Because you pick up language from the environment. You are not born with a language. So depending upon your environment, you have to relate with the environment. So you can expect something, you can have to give something. It's a yajna going on. This interaction. So how do you act as a family person? Husband, wife, children, parents. How should you respond as a member of a community? How do you respond as a member of an organization or a corporation? How do you respond as a member of the environment? They are all governed by norms and rules. So that you can fulfill your rights, you can get your rights fulfilled, and also there is responsibilities. It is not only just the rights. Of course, you have got some right. You also have certain responsibilities. So, what are the norms which govern your relationship with your environment, because your life unfolds as an interaction between your body, mind, ego complex interacting with the world? What are those norms? That is what they are. India got a lot of smridis, Manu Smriti, this Smriti, Parashara Smriti, and Western countries have their own rules, their constitution, their legal system, their jurisprudence, and their morality, their customs and traditions governing this. So can you elicit some few, manageable ideas? What are these norms which should govern my relationship, which I will discuss in Rajya Dharma? There are the norms. So first is the values. Second is your prakriti. Your prakriti means your property, your character. Your characteristic. And now the third talk will be on Rajya Dharma, defining all this. How do you manage the relationship? What should I do? Because the problem we face today is our relationship. One thing, we don't know our prakriti. Secondly, we don't know how to manage our relationship. It's a very, very disturbed relationship these days because we are not forewarned. As a result of that, we don't know how to manage it. So that we will be discussing. We have to give some thought to that. So that is what we will be doing next time. Thank you very much. I hope you can, next week, this whole week, you have to reflect upon your Prakriti. You have to decide. Don't give the right to anybody else. No psychologist, no politician, no economist, nobody. You have to decide what your Prakriti is, and you have to assert it very, very carefully and cautiously. That is your privilege. Nobody can take it away from you. Hari Om. Thank you.